Assignment is for 1.3.3 Constraining a Sketch Part 1. Once we open Fusion, first thing we need to do is make sure our view cube is oriented properly. You want to, for this assignment, for all four parts of this assignment, you want your units to be in millimeters. So make sure you change those to millimeters if they are not there. Okay, you want to open up your data panel. Make sure you are in IED Designs in Unit 1. Okay, once you make sure all that is open, you can close your data panel. We're going to go up to File. We're going to go to Save. We're going to name this 1.3.3 Constraints Part 1. And we're going to click Save. Now that we have that ready, we are going to go ahead and make a concave polygon, an 8-sided concave polygon. A concave polygon is one that has one or more interior angles 180 degrees or larger. So we're going to start off with Create Sketch. We want to use our XZ plane. Let's make sure you're using the XZ plane. For this, we are only going to use our line tool. So up here on the Create tab, we want to choose the line tool. One thing you want to do first is in your sketch palette that opens up, you want to make sure that you have your sketch grid checked, your snap checked, profile checked, points checked, dimensions checked, constraints checked, projected geometries checked, and construction geometries checked. So slice and 3D sketch should not be checked. Okay, it's always a good idea or good practice to start on the axis line. And we want to keep our origin point in mind as well. So your sketch does not need to look exactly like mine, so you don't have to worry about matching up exactly with the same dimensions I have, but it should be similar. We're actually not going to worry about dimensions at all for this one. We're just focusing on shape. So I'm just going to click. I'm going to draw a straight line going this way. This will be line 1. Remember I said we're going to have 8 lines. Line 1. Then I'm going to go up a little bit. That'll be line 2. Line 3. I'm going to come in this way a little bit. Line 4. Line 5. Line 6. Line 7. And then when you get back to line 8 should connect back to line 1. You'll see that circle there. That means that you're back there. You're going to click. And your shape should turn blue. Okay, if your shape turns blue, that means you have connected all of the lines and you're set. So at this point, you can right-click and click OK. Now, what we want to do is we're looking at our constraints. These little symbols here are the constraints. Okay, so we have a perpendicular constraint. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 perpendicular constraints. 2 parallel constraints and 1 horizontal constraint. So if we look at that, can actually see, so that perpendicular constraint is for there. That means those 2 lines will always be perpendicular. So it's in the corner. Same thing here. These 2 will always be perpendicular. Okay. That means these 2 lines here will always be parallel to each other. So no matter what I do to this, it will stay parallel to the other line that it's connected with. So at this point, what I want you to do is just kind of play around with this and notice how no matter what you do, those constraints keep everything according to how it's locked. So these 2 are parallel. No matter how much I change these points here, these 2 will always be parallel. This corner will always be perpendicular, always form a 90-degree angle because it's locked into that. This line will always be horizontal no matter what I do with the angles here. Notice. So I want you to play around with that for a little bit. Check out how those constraints actually lock certain parts of the geometry of the shape in place. Once you've played with it for a little bit, I want you to go up to your undo arrow. And I want to go back to the original shape that you created. Set it Okay. If you go too far, just click the redo line and it'll put you back in place. What I want you to do now, I want you to go through and we're going to delete each of these constraints so that you can see the difference. So to delete a constraint, you're going to left click, right click, and then delete. Left click, right click, delete. Left click, right click, delete. And you may have different constraints on yours than I have on mine, depending on what your shape actually looks like and the size and things like that. So you're going to delete all of your constraints, and then you're going to play with this again. Notice now when I move things, it's not necessarily, things aren't staying perpendicular like they were, or necessarily staying horizontal or parallel, so it totally changes the geometry for your shape. So once you've played with it, again, I want you to back out to your original shape. And once you get back to your original shape, let me see, yeah. Then I want you to go ahead and click Finish Sketch. Once you finish the sketch, we are going to extrude. We're going to extrude at 5 millimeters. Click OK. And now you're going to go ahead and upload this into Canvas as 1.3.3 Constraints Part 1.